Hi, I'm Dr. David Dobson. Welcome to Conversations. Today, my guest is Dr. Khyati Shetty. Khyati is a professor of marketing and the director of the School of Business at the University of the Fraser Valley. Her research areas are brand strategy, strategic marketing, and women entrepreneurship. She has published several papers in ABCD index journals and book chapters. It's a great pleasure to have you with me today, Khyati.
Thank you for having me on your show, David. I know you've been doing these for a while and they've been super successful ones. And so it's an absolute pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. You started your career in the marketing industry, but then you made the switch to academia. Why did you decide to make this career change?
Well, to be very honest with you, David, ever since my childhood, I was somebody who always struggled with monotony and unvarying routines. And I promised myself that I'm not going to pick an area of study that is going to hold me hostage to those unvarying routines. And picking marketing to me just seemed like an answer to my prayers because studying marketing meant that no 2 days ended up looking the same. And it meant exercising every muscle of my brain. And more than anything, there was no set answers to questions. So after completing my MBA from a very, very competitive B school, I joined a major corporate brand, like you said, in the areas of corporate potential estimation and corporate strategy and branding. 4 years, 3 promotions, a fat paycheck, a fantastic corporate job. A lot of people thought it's going to take an Indiana Jones boulder rolling towards me to come towards me to actually quit my job. But I think somewhere during one of the best and halfway through some of the best years of my corporate life, I decided to make a monumental move, and the move was towards teaching and training. I just realized working in the corporate that I'd become a corporate hamster, and I just couldn't see my purpose per se.
Mm.
And when I made this move, a lot of people told me I was stupid. People told me I was crazy. People said I would regret my decision because academics pays you half the paycheck. It's been more than 10 years and counting, David. I do not know if I was stupid. I do not know if I was crazy, but I haven't regretted this decision one single day of my life. And that is something that I cannot tell you of any job that I've held before. So that's how academics happened to me.
One of your research areas is women entrepreneurship. Can you share a little bit about your passion for empowering women entrepreneurs?
Well, my passion for women's entrepreneurship research sprang when I started working with the Dubai Chamber of Commerce on some of their women empowerment projects. I joined them as their leadership consultant. And working on these projects, David, I learned a few things about these amazing women. These women weren't exactly denied their basic human rights like their mothers or their grandmothers.
Mm-hmm.
They were constantly fed the idea
Mm-hmm.
that girls could have an ambition, but not too much.
Okay.
You know, girls could be successful,
Right.
but not too successful, or else you're going to threaten the man in your life. And being a woman was like mastering a delicate art form in some of these countries.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this resulted in many, many women actually internalizing these stereotypes and letting the voices in their heads become one of their biggest impediment. I realized the only way to find a solution to this problem was to perhaps try and study about the problem a little further so that I could have a solution for it. And that was when I very first dipped my toes into the area of women's entrepreneurship research. And I'm super happy to share that based on these years of study, we developed a program, a women's entrepreneurship bootcamp program, where this bootcamp is primarily structured around addressing these 7 limiting behaviors of aspiring women entrepreneurs. Okay. And through this bootcamp, we helped 300 plus women set up their businesses, perhaps one of the biggest joys of my life. Nice. And as the country chair for G100, I'm determined to do that in Canada as well with the right allies. No, out of these 300 businesses, all of these businesses were funded by angel investors and big mega banks back in Dubai. I know some of these businesses. I know a lady who started off and I'll always remember this because I thought it was a very unique idea. She was very passionate about it. So she started an online marketplace for street vendors around the world. So she would travel around the world and find out street vendors who wouldn't really get fair prices for their products, or they wouldn't really find the right markets or did not have the right markets to sell it. And she ended up putting all of these businesses and products on her website, and she started marketing it around the world, and she ended up becoming a really, really successful business. So that was one that I remember and something worth mentioning, I think.
In addition to teaching, researching, and your community involvement, you are also the director of the School of Business at the University of the Fraser Valley. How do you juggle various responsibilities?
Well, again, I'm going to be unflinchingly honest here. Trying to wear these multiple hats sometimes feels like I'm trying to juggle 50 plates in the air all at once. And the piece is super frenetic, and it can get really, really overwhelming at times. But something that I learned back in my 30s was to learn to prioritize my emotional hygiene just as much as my mental hygiene, as just as much as my physical hygiene. And practicing yoga and meditation, I think, have been my biggest anchors here. Yoga and meditation found me a few years ago, and I think it was one of my biggest blessings. And in essence, for me, yoga and meditation are not merely practices, they're lifelines to keep me grounded and also resilient. I don't practice yoga to look good. I practice yoga to feel good. And in the pursuit of feeling good, on the inside, I feel it empowers me to handle some of these curveballs that life throws at me very often in my job. And it also gives me that grace and a sense of purpose. So that's been my secret arsenal.
So do you do yoga every day?
Every single day. I'm up at 5. I don't touch technology all the way till 7 a.m. My 5 a.m. begins with a gratefulness journal. It begins with my meditation, and it begins with 1 hour of rigorous yoga and pranayama, which is breathing exercises. So once I have my foundation for the day set, only then do I start, I get on the battlefield for handling life's battles.
Very, very nice routine you got there.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. How did you navigate your way through your career transition to a Canadian university?
Well, this one was quite an adventure. As someone who's lived and worked in 4 continents, I can tell you this with all certainty. Every time I go through this process of moving to a new country, it requires me to have a very, very agile mindset. It requires me to be having an open mind to dabble with new things. When I moved to Canada as well, it required me to strip my past titles. It required me to strip my laurels, my awards, all of my past accomplishments, and start from a fresh slate. It required me to walk into rooms. It required me to introduce myself. It required me to send in CVs to many, many universities. And believe you me, at times it felt like those CVs went into a black hole because I would never hear from them. And if there are people like me who are going through this process, I just want you to know that it's going to be okay, and it's very normal. It required me to pound my own pavement many times to swallow the humility pill, and perhaps sometimes work with people who took time to understand entirely what I was capable of. Was this process easy? I'm going to be honest, hell no. Am I going to be doing this again? 100% yes. Because every time I put myself through this process, I compel myself to test my mettle. I see what I'm truly made up of. And that's a feeling nobody can take it away from me in the entire world. And some of the best things have come to me in life when I've stepped outside of my comfort zone. So that was my transition to Canada. Very eventful, as every country, and it's taught me heaps. And that's been my thought process. I keep telling myself, and David, trust me, there are those days where I just feel like, every time I've done this move, I've had those moments where I put up my hand and said, oh my God, I've been so stupid to do this yet once again. But then bringing back and, exactly like you said, when you do this over and over again, I remind myself, hey, you've done this once before and you've survived that. You're going to survive this one too. So that keeps me going, certainly.
I hope that you stay in Canada for a long time.
I love Canada for now. I've started calling it home, and it's given me something that no other country has given. And, that is really nice, pleasant people. And I keep telling my colleagues around the world,
Yeah.
Canada is a really, really cold country with very, very warm people. So
Nice.
no, I don't think I'm going to leave anytime soon, for sure.
Okay, that's good to know. Based on your work and experience on women's entrepreneurship, do you have any advice for female entrepreneurs?
Well, based purely on my experience, I would say follow your passion, invest in your passion, and reach beyond your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like I said, the best things come to you when you step outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
I've had a lot of women come up to me, David, and say, oh, I have this vision, I have this dream, I know I can make it work, but maybe someday, eventually. Once my kids are settled, or once I'm married, or, we always have these milestones.
Right.
But here's the truth, and I'm telling you this out of experience.
Yes.
Eventually never happens.
That's true.
You don't need to wait until you're better at something, or you're more qualified, or until the timing is right. Pursue the life that you want rather than the life that you're told, or the life that the society sets an expectation for. You might ruffle a few feathers, but so what, right? If that is what you want, then it's worth it all. And I read this somewhere, and it stuck with me, and this has become my life's mantra, I would say. For me, life's journey is not about arriving at your graveside safely in a well-preserved body. For me, it's about taking those risks, skidding in sideways, taking your fall, worn out completely. And when it's all done, I want to be able to tell myself, wow, that was one hell of a ride. And I guess that's how I want to go. And I'm hoping every woman out there who has that vision and who's been telling herself, eventually, one day, don't wait for that, and make it happen. So yes, that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time, Khyati. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much, David.